It's 7:43 at iFiber One News Radio, and a good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey. I'm happy to have in studio this half hour Beau Bakken, the fire chief for the North Mason Regional Fire Authority. Good morning, Beau.
Morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
I was on Facebook the other day looking around, trolling on those Belfair communities that you guys have up there. There's a bunch of them that are very active with members talking about things happening up in the north part of Mason County. And I saw a post that you had written about the current situation when it comes to EpiPens. And it was a very nice post on this thing. And so I'm guessing you have some personal investment in this perhaps, or at least getting the information out to the folks in the North Mason Regional Fire Authority's area. So talk to me about EpiPens and your interest and what we can do in this current climate with these pens, and they're so expensive and whatever.
Sure. So, well, thanks for the opportunity. Starting off with, if you have a bee sting, you're just the average person, you get stung in the hand, and all of a sudden you'll notice kind of in the area of the sting, you'll have a little bit of swelling, a little bit of redness and whatnot right around the sting that might last for a few minutes. And that's a normal reaction anytime you have a bee sting or something that you're allergic to. But what can happen in different people is that instead of just kind of a localized swelling, sometimes it can affect a bigger part of the body. And in severe cases, you can have an allergic reaction to something like a bee sting or peanut allergies or something like that throughout the entire body. So instead of just getting that swelling and redness in one little area, you have this same type of reaction throughout your entire body. Now with that, they can become so severe that swelling will actually end up closing down your airway. It'll actually end up bottoming out your blood pressure, and really your life is in jeopardy at that particular time. And it's what we call an anaphylactic reaction. You're having a chemical reaction to an allergen that's happening throughout the entire body. Now, for folks that have those type of reactions, there is a drug that's available, and it's epinephrine, and I know it's in the news today. And a lot of folks that have these type of anaphylactic reactions where their life is in jeopardy, they will be prescribed an epinephrine pen, or EpiPen for short. And generally that's kept in a purse or in a car or at work and whatnot. And what you need is that epinephrine within just a matter of minutes of an allergic reaction or this anaphylactic reaction coming on. And epinephrine, we all know it. It's also known as adrenaline. It's in our body, and what it does is it counters the effects of the chemical that your body is naturally releasing in response to this allergic allergen, what we call an allergen, bee sting, nuts, pineapple, stuff like that. Well, one of the things that has happened here recently is that we've been watching in the news is that the cost of an EpiPen has gone up and through the roof, and we've got some pharmaceutical companies that are playing games with making increased profit with these epinephrine pens. And for me, it's been really, really frustrating to watch. When you see, I've got an epinephrine pen here that you can look at, and you can see, Jeff, I'll pass one over to you.
Yeah.
It looks like a little toy. What it is, it's a little spring-loaded device, a little plastic cartridge, and what you do is that you put that up against the orange part that you're holding there. You push that up against your thigh. And what will happen is the loaded part will inject just a little bit of epinephrine into your leg, and then it circulates throughout your body, counteracts that anaphylactic reaction, and gets you back into a normal state. And again, when you need that epinephrine pen, you need that in a matter of minutes because your body is swelling up and it is shutting down. Now, what has happened is you can see it's a pretty simple device. There's not much to it.
Plastic and maybe a spring in there?
Exactly right. Pretty lightweight, really not a whole heck of a lot to it. And what has happened is that initially, I would say probably about 10 years ago when the fire departments first started carrying those are running about $40, $50, maybe $60. Now those are running, for a pack of two, they're running over $600.
So what are we buying, though?
You're buying a little bit of plastic, and you're buying a spring-loaded device and just a tiny bit of epinephrine, which might cost a couple bucks at most.
So the big cost is the delivery device.
Sure.
Is that what they say?
That's what they say, but you can see you've got about probably what I have been told and what I would believe is that you've got about $6 worth of plastic there.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot to it. And so you look in, and what is troubling to me to know is that people that need these have a prescription for them. But when you're getting up in the $600 range, that can be cost prohibitive. Now, the other thing I should point out, Jeff, is the epinephrine that's in there also has a shelf life. And so when you buy an EpiPen, even if you don't use it, it's good for somewhere in the range of 2 to 3 years. You got to throw them out after that, and you got to buy them again. So that does nothing more than increase the cost over time for these devices. And so what I'm trying to get the word out, and I really appreciate you having me on today to be able to do this, is that while insurance companies will pick up the cost for EpiPens when you have a prescription, there's a lot of folks that don't have insurance and don't have the ability to afford those type of prices. And there will be, I'm not advocating for people to go without EpiPens if they can get them, but there will be people that choose not to purchase the EpiPens.
Sure.
And one of the things that I want to let people know is that EMTs and paramedics throughout Washington State have epinephrine that they can administer. It's the same stuff you find in EpiPens. And one of the things I brought here, Jeff, is this is what's known as a multi-dose vial of epinephrine, and it's
big vial of that.
It's what we carry on the rigs. And you can see here I've got about a 10-cent syringe here as well. And one of the things that I've really appreciated about working here in Mason County and working with our medical program director is he's allowed our EMTs and paramedics to use this setup, which is just a matter of dollars, to be able to administer epinephrine when calling 911 when we come out and see an anaphylactic reaction. And in that vial that you have there, Jeff, there's 100 doses of the same stuff that you find in the EpiPen, and we can use that vial over and over again. And again, that's just a matter of dollars.
Wow.
Now, I really want to put emphasis on is when you suspect, and a lot of folks don't know, they've never been stung by a bee, or they've never had a reaction in the past, but when they take in an allergen, you can feel some scratching in your throat, you can feel your tongue swelling up. That's signs of an anaphylactic reaction or a potential anaphylactic reaction coming on. And when that happens, you have to call 911 immediately. You've got literally a matter of minutes before we've got to get epinephrine on board. And I really want to point out that throughout Washington State, ambulance companies, fire departments, ambulances, we all have epinephrine on board.
Okay.
And so call 911. Do not delay. Even if you're having just a simple allergic reaction where we would not administer epinephrine, we can at least come out, do an evaluation, and find out exactly what's going on. But do not delay. And the other thing that I'd like to point out is, at least in the North Mason Regional Fire Authority and in most agencies, when you call 911 and you need epinephrine, there's no charge for it. So it's not like we're passing on a $600 charge from the companies onto patients. There's not a charge whatsoever. And so I really appreciate being able to get the word out that we have this available. It's just a matter of calling 911. A lot of people think, it's just a little bee sting, I don't want to bother anybody. If you think that you're having a whole body reaction, this anaphylactic reaction, call 911 immediately.
Do you have any ideas of how many people, either in the county or in your North Mason Regional Fire Authority, or just generally, have allergic reactions to some of the things that we talked about as extreme, that would need these often?
Yeah, I would say that we're probably administering now with the Regional Fire Authority. This isn't the entire county. We're probably administering epinephrine 20 to 25 times a year, and so it's not a big population. But we do go on a lot of allergic reactions, and the thing is that adrenaline, it is tough on the body. I mean, it's essentially, it speeds the body up, gets the heart going, and so we try to hold off on giving it only when appropriate. And so we'll sit there and monitor to see how bad a situation gets when an allergic reaction comes on. But if it does get so severe where it's closing down your airway, we don't hesitate. And sometimes there's folks that will have such a severe reaction where they will need multiple doses of epinephrine. 1 or 2 doses does not do it. We need to give several. And those cases are very severe. They are rare, but we do encounter them. And I can tell you there are cases in which we go to every year where if we did not administer epinephrine, people would have lost their lives.
Oh my gosh.
Their airways close down, their blood pressure bottoms out, and the only thing that they need, the one thing that they need is epinephrine. And again, we have that with our fire department.
I was talking with Tim McKern, fire chief from Central Mason Fire and EMS last week or 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the use of people calling 911 and the EMT and the ambulance services as kind of their general doctors. They don't have insurance and things like that. Are you concerned that with the cost of these EpiPens going so high and the thought of a generic version of this still at maybe $300 but years away, that this is going to put more undue pressure on the EMT staff or anyone to get it out there?
There is a potential for that. The only thing that I might strike from your comments is the word undue. And the reason why I say that is we don't view it as undue because really this is a life-saving situation.
Okay.
And so people calling us, there's times where we come out and they don't know what type of reaction they're going to have, and we can appreciate that. But we would much rather be on scene in a patient's home monitoring them. We don't see that as a nuisance call at all. We don't see that as undue in any way, shape, or form. For situations where we do have a bad reaction, we want to be there on site. So I don't want to make it look like or have people not call 911 thinking, oh, I'm just bothering the fire department. We do not look at that at all. We don't look at it in that way at all, I should say.
Sure. Okay. Fire Chief from the North Mason Regional Fire Authority, Beau Bakken, on the air with me today talking about a very timely subject with EpiPens, epinephrine, and I think it's pretty interesting to note that it is basically you're paying $600 for plastic.
There's a spring, there is a little bit of plastic, and there is just a tiny amount of epinephrine. Again, just a matter of dollars to make, but when the pharmaceutical companies go ahead and they pass that on, they're charging $600 for
What about in school districts? What do they have at the nurse's office?
Well, so there are kids in schools that do need epinephrine and whatnot, and when they need epinephrine, they need to have a prescription for that epinephrine, and so a lot of times nurses will have epinephrine that's on hand for individual students because they have prescriptions.
Okay.
But I don't believe that nurses have epinephrine on hand that they can give for just students that do not have prescriptions for the epinephrine. And so what you'll see is school nurses calling 911 when they see kids that are having a potentially anaphylactic reaction, and they're treated just like folks that might call from home, and up we come, the fire department, up we come, and we can administer epinephrine in the form that you see there.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for coming on today. It was good to see you. It's been a little while, so we'll get you back in here more often. Beau Bakken, Fire Chief for the North Mason Regional Fire Authority.